Hello again. A few words on the amazing people that it's possible to run into. And sometimes I've stopped worrying, I've stopped thinking through how it is that things can line up. They just do sometimes, and I don't know if there's any reason in overanalyzing it. It is what it is, basically, right? But anyways, a few weeks ago I was at this event, and I ran into a gentleman there who was quite a fascinating guy. He's a plastic surgeon visiting here from India, and he's apparently quite a noted plastic surgeon, published in medical journals, and does seminars and that sort of thing all across the world. His, from what I understand, from what I understood, his expertise is the face and hands. So that was interesting. Had a bit of a conversation about that, and then he asked me if I wanted to go for tea with him or come over to his house sometime for a chat. So I said I would, but then I forgot to get his number. So a few weeks went past, and I ran into his friend who was with him at the time. Got his information from him. So then I texted him, and I said, "Oh, I'm just following up, and I didn't have your number." And right away he came back, "Yeah, come on over sometime." It was about a day after that. I was talking to another friend who was showing me this hand issue he has, and I'd never heard about it before. Maybe you have. It's called Dupuytren's contracture, and what it is it's some sort of a condition that mostly Northern Europeans get, especially men, but anybody can get it across the world. But it's apparently about 2 cases in 100 men in certain Germanic type countries, whereas India it's maybe 1 in 1,000 or 1 in several thousand. So that gives you the idea, the difference. But what it is basically, it looks kind of like a second tendon that will grow in usually the ring finger or the little finger, and it pulls the fingers. So as people get old, they can't straighten out their fingers anymore, and there's this line that will run across that it pulls. And what it is, it's a collagen development of the fascia or something like that on this side of the tendon. So the solution to it, as I'll explain from what I understand. So anyway, so he showed me this, right? So when I finally texted back this other guy, this surgeon, I asked him, I said, are you familiar with Dupuytren's contracture? And he sent back, well, yeah, of course. I've actually done many operations. He's like one of the top surgeons in the whole of India for that. And even though there's not a lot there, he does quite a number of them. And I said, I got a friend who would like to come by with me and to show you his hand. Oh, by all means, he said, I'm glad to. So we go over there. Anyways, I told my friend I was going over. We're going to meet the doctor at his house. And so I get there. My friend, he's very much of a jovial guy, and he's extremely comfortable with anybody. So he gets there ahead of me. So you know, I don't really know this doctor either. He doesn't, and this guy doesn't know him at all. So I show up there, and my friend's already sitting in the living room having a great chat with the doctor. And we talked about, Indian spirituality and whatnot for a while with his wife, who's a very well known artist in India, very well published, and an author, a poet, and the whole works. Very interesting couple. And their son was there too, a university student. So, anyways, so I asked the doctor, I asked my friend, did you show your hand to the doctor? And he showed it to him right away, and at that point the doctor said, well, I'm going to get my laptop. He goes to get his laptop, he opens it up, and he proceeds to present to us, aside from getting up and doing a slideshow, but right on the couch there, basically a PowerPoint presentation, excellent presentation for about a half an hour, slide after slide after slide, through a detailed operation that he's done. Turns out he's an educator, not only a doctor, but he's an educator, and he gets permission from certain ones of and he gives his patients a discount if they agree to be photographed on every step. And he showed us, step by step, with these big clear pictures, what he actually does when he does this operation, of how he cuts the hand along the crease one of the creases on the hand if possible. If not, a zigzag so it's easier to mend. So when it heals up, you don't even see it because it's on the crease. He puts a tourniquet so it's bloodless, and he does what he calls a block anesthetic, which just freezes the arm only. The person's awake, they can watch it, they can talk, the whole works. And he goes in and he fishes it out, makes sure he separates out the nerves because he doesn't want to touch the nerves so that there's still sensation there. Makes sure that he doesn't interfere with the tendon. He just pulls that up, peels the skin back, gets in and cuts it off at its source here, peels the skin back here, gets in and cuts it off at its source here, takes it out, and the hand is back to normal. It was just absolutely fascinating. I mean, what are the odds, eh? If it was just an odds game, it'd be pretty high. That I was talking to my friend about. He mentioned Dupuytren's contraction. I'd met this guy who had done Dupuytren's contraction operations, many of them. And not only has he done them, he's an educator on Dupuytren's contraction. To doctors all over the world. And he was talking about how a doctor from Nova Scotia came all the way to India to see him to get more up to date on a certain procedure. So it was quite amazing. And in fact, I just got a text from the doctor just now, like a half an hour ago, that he wants to go for coffee again before he goes back to India. I guess he enjoyed the conversation we had. But anyways, just amazing. In terms of quality of life, we can meet amazing people that are interesting, we have a stimulating conversation and so on, and learn something. That all adds to our quality of life, I think. And I think if we're open-minded to be able to talk to people and just ask them and listen to what they have to say, we can meet some real interesting people who've got quite a story and quite a life experience as this doctor seems to have. So yeah, I just wanted to share that about the interesting people you can meet and the quality of life that it can bring. Steve here again, great chatting. Talk again soon.